In New Jersey, an unprecedented standoff is unfolding, one that's drawing national attention and raising fundamental questions about the balance of power in our government. At the heart of the controversy is a battle over who truly leads the U.S. Attorney's Office in Newark, a position with enormous influence over federal prosecutions in the region. The executive branch, led by President Trump, and the federal judiciary are locked in a direct and highly public confrontation, each asserting their authority in a way rarely seen before. This isn't just a simple personnel dispute. It's a high-stakes constitutional clash over who has the legal right to appoint a temporary U.S. attorney when a vacancy suddenly appears. The president claims the right as head of the Department of Justice, arguing that executive power should prevail, while the district's federal judges cite their own statutory authority, pointing to laws that give them a say in the matter. The result? Two individuals now simultaneously claim to be the rightful head of one of the nation's most powerful prosecutors' offices, each backed by a different branch of government. This has thrown the office into confusion and uncertainty, with staff unsure whose orders to follow and the public left wondering about the stability of the justice system. The stakes are high, and the implications reach far beyond New Jersey. The outcome of this standoff could set a crucial precedent for how future vacancies in U.S. attorneys' offices are handled across the country, potentially reshaping the balance of power between the executive and judicial branches. It's a vivid, real-world example of the ongoing tension between branches of government, especially when it comes to the immense power and independence of the Department of Justice. The crisis escalated dramatically when the judges, acting on their interpretation of the law, appointed a successor after the interim U.S. attorney's term expired, defying the wishes of the executive branch. The Trump administration immediately rejected that move, insisting on their own pick and setting the stage for a legal and political showdown that could have lasting consequences. Now, the stability and integrity of a key part of our justice system hang in the balance, as the nation watches to see which branch will ultimately prevail, and what that will mean for the future of American law and governance. This standoff began not with a dramatic event, but with a quiet expiration of authority. When interim U.S. Attorney Alina Habba's temporary term expired, it set off a chain reaction that no one seemed fully prepared for. Normally, the Senate would step in to confirm a permanent replacement, ensuring a smooth transition of power. But in this case, that crucial step never happened, leaving the office in limbo. With no confirmed leader at the helm, a legal void quickly emerged, raising urgent questions about who was truly in charge. Federal law does provide a roadmap for these situations, but the Trump administration and the district's judges found themselves at odds, each interpreting those laws in starkly different ways. The administration was determined to keep their chosen person in place, hoping to maintain continuity and control, while the judges saw a clear vacancy, one they believed they were legally empowered, even obligated, to fill. The Senate's failure to confirm a nominee is central to this conflict, creating a power vacuum that both sides rush to fill. When confirmation stalls, temporary appointments step in to keep the office running. But these acting officials operate under strict, time-limited rules, and their authority is always under scrutiny. Now, the interpretation of those rules has become the battleground, with each side citing legal precedent and statutory language to support their claim. This wasn't a sudden resignation or a dramatic firing, but rather the predictable, almost bureaucratic result of a temporary appointment simply running out of time. All these factors combined to create the perfect storm for a power struggle, one that was brewing quietly, but now threatens to erupt into a full-blown constitutional crisis. The administration sought to maintain its grip on the office, while the judiciary felt a deep legal and ethical responsibility to intervene and restore order. This clash is now testing the very boundaries of executive power and judicial authority, raising questions that could have lasting implications for the balance of power in our government. And at the heart of it all is one of the nation's busiest prosecutors' offices, where the stakes couldn't be higher and the outcome remains uncertain. At the heart of this conflict is a legal tug-of-war between presidential power and judicial authority. The president, under Article 2, claims broad power to appoint and remove federal officials, including U.S. attorneys. The Trump administration insists this authority is paramount, but a federal statute gives district judges the power to appoint an interim U.S. attorney if a vacancy lasts more than 30 days. The judges in New Jersey believe they acted within this law. This sets up a direct collision constitutional authority versus congressional statute. The stakes are high. If the acting U.S. attorney's authority is in question, every case they touch could be challenged. Defense attorneys may argue prosecutions are invalid if the office's leadership is unlawful. This could unravel countless cases and create chaos in the justice system. Critics warn the statute blurs the line between judge and prosecutor, raising separation of powers concerns. The standoff is forcing a fundamental debate about the limits of each branch's authority. At the center of the storm is Alina Habba, a fiercely loyal Trump ally and former personal defense lawyer, whose reputation for tenacity and boldness has made her a polarizing figure in legal and political circles. Her interim term as U.S. Attorney expired, and a panel of federal judges declined to reappoint her, instead choosing her deputy for the role. This decision was seen by many as a rebuke of her close ties to the Trump administration and her controversial approach to the job. But Habba refused to step aside. She took to the public stage, declaring she was still in charge, and did so with the full and vocal backing of the Trump administration, which insisted she remain at the helm. The White House and Department of Justice outright rejected the judge's authority to remove her, setting up a rare and dramatic power struggle, with two competing leaders now claiming control over the same office. Habba's supporters have praised her defiance as a stand for principle and loyalty, while her critics argue that her actions represent a direct challenge to the rule of law and the independence of the judiciary. The administration then made a calculated move. President Trump withdrew her permanent nomination, a decision that caught many by surprise and shifted the legal landscape. But this wasn't a retreat. Instead, it cleverly reset the legal clock, allowing Habba to remain as acting U.S. Attorney for up to 210 more days, effectively extending her tenure and influence. This maneuver sidestepped the judge's decision and prolonged the standoff, deepening the uncertainty and tension within the office and the broader legal community. For now, Habba remains in charge, her authority fiercely contested by rivals and questioned by many, as the office grapples with a leadership crisis that shows no signs of resolution. The office is left in a state of limbo, with staff caught between rival authorities, unsure whose directives to follow and what the future holds for their work and careers. The situation is a vivid example of how personal loyalty, political pressure, and legal maneuvering can override established procedures, threatening the stability of long-standing institutions. The crisis has become a high-stakes test of both legal norms and the resilience of American institutions, raising questions about the balance of power and the future of federal appointments. The outcome of this unprecedented standoff will shape how future disputes over federal appointments are handled and may set a precedent for years to come. In response to Habba's expired term, federal judges appointed her deputy, Desiree Lee Grace, as acting U.S. Attorney. This was a standard move to ensure continuity. But the executive branch immediately pushed back. Attorney General Pam Bondi fired Grace just hours after her appointment. The DOJ's message was clear: the administration would not accept the judiciary's choice. Grace was left with conflicting orders, appointed by the court, fired by the DOJ. She chose to follow the judge's directive, defying the executive branch. This act of defiance deepened the constitutional crisis. The office's leadership is now in total limbo. Grace's decision turned a procedural dispute into a full-blown confrontation. Public servants are caught in the crossfire, under immense pressure. The office's employees face uncertainty as rival claims to leadership persist. The standoff highlights the real-world consequences of a power struggle at the top. The Trump administration's response was swift and aggressive. The White House and DOJ publicly backed Habba, rejecting the judge's authority. Attorney General Bondi's firing of Grace was a direct attempt to nullify the court's decision. Trump's withdrawal of Habba's nomination reset her acting term, prolonging the standoff. Meanwhile, the administration launched a PR campaign, framing the judges as overreaching. Supporters painted the judiciary as politically motivated, shifting blame away from the executive. This multi-pronged strategy, legal, procedural, and political, was designed to assert executive control. The administration is not just disagreeing, it's working to neutralize judicial authority. The stakes are now higher than ever, with both sides refusing to back down. The New Jersey standoff is a powerful example of the ongoing struggle over federal power. Similar conflicts have erupted before, always raising the same question: who has the ultimate authority to appoint and remove powerful officials? The Constitution's checks and balances are being tested, especially when appointment rules are ambiguous. The outcome here will set a precedent for future vacancies and the balance of power. In the meantime, the uncertainty disrupts the justice system and erodes public trust. Legal experts are watching closely, knowing any court ruling could redraw the lines between presidential authority and judicial independence. The core issue: will key law enforcement posts be filled by professional standards or presidential loyalty? The answer will shape the rule of law for years to come. The New Jersey crisis isn't the only appointment controversy. President Trump appointed Todd Blanche, a close ally, as acting librarian of Congress after abruptly firing Carla Hayden. Library staff and unions pushed back, arguing Congress, not the president, should have a say. Staff even blocked access to new appointees, creating a tense standoff in Washington. This echoes the New Jersey fight. The administration is pushing the boundaries of executive authority. Critics see it as an attempt to politicize a nonpartisan institution. Both cases highlight a willingness to challenge norms and force other branches to defend their turf. The result? Federal employees must choose between loyalty to their institution or the executive. The battles over the New Jersey U.S. Attorney's Office and the Library of Congress are more than personnel disputes. They reveal a pattern of the Trump administration testing the limits of presidential power. These are fundamental clashes over the separation of powers, with unresolved legal questions simmering beneath the surface. The standoffs disrupt the daily work of vital institutions and create deep uncertainty. The way these conflicts are resolved will shape the rules for presidential appointments for years to come. The integrity of our justice system and cultural institutions is being tested in real time. Will future presidents be emboldened to challenge other branches, or will new laws reinforce checks and balances? The outcome will define the modern balance of power in Washington. The final score isn't settled, but the stakes for our government's future couldn't be higher.